Welcome back, y'all. I am music journalist Thomas Mooney, and this is New Slang. We're on to episode 223, where I'm joined by Texas singer-songwriter Randy Rogers. I sat down with Randy a few weeks back during William Clark Green's CottonFest. You know, obviously, I have not released a new episode in quite some time, but it just felt like the right time to get back in the groove of things. So, these past few weeks, I have gone out and recorded quite a few episodes. I did a few here in Lubbock during Will's CottonFest with a few other people who played. And then I went up to Okemah, Oklahoma and recorded a bunch of stuff up there during Woody Fest. We did this during CottonFest here in Lubbock during the night that Randy headlined. And, you know, when he was playing, I was kind of thinking about a few things. One of which, I feel like we kind of take Randy for granted. You know, he's been doing this for about 25 years now and releasing just about as many albums if you kind of combine the studio, the live, and the collaborative efforts over that time. That's, you know, consistency. That's longevity. It's growth. It's perspective. And like I said, during the show, you're just kind of doing that whole, they just have nothing but hits thing, you know? For 90 minutes straight, it is nothing but hits. And you know, Randy, he's not going to be one of these guys who's like gallivanting around on stage. There's not a whole lot of, you know, story time with the crowd, and he's not slinging beer all around and all that kind of stuff. But I think his showmanship is a lot more focused, and there's this real subtle intensity about it all. And that intensity is just like where there is no lag time between songs. It is just, let's go on to the next one. So here's another hit, and then 5 minutes later, here's another hit. It's 90 minutes of fastballs. Now, as you can tell, this episode is right around that 30-minute mark. And while short, we do pack in a lot of conversation here. We touch on the 20th anniversary of Rollercoaster, working with the likes of Radney Foster and Sean McConnell over the years, what it is that makes him gravitate towards certain songs that are outside cuts, what is around the corner release-wise, and then we touch on, this up-and-coming kid named Parker McCollum, which, if you've been paying attention to the last few releases from Randy, they are co-writes with Parker. That would be Break Itself and Is This Thing Working? Now, before we get on to the episode, let's just go ahead and state the obvious. If you haven't subscribed to New Slang just yet, go ahead and do so. While you're at it, go ahead and give us a follow over on all the social media stuff that you can. It is New Slang basically everywhere, but those links will be in the show notes as well. Out here, style tells a story. It's not just a t-shirt. It's an anthem. It's a statement. That's why New Slang has proudly partnered with OG Lone Star. Austin-born, Texas-bred, and officially licensed by Lone Star Beer. They're bringing back the classics. Those bold vintage t-shirts, that classic embossed steel tavern sign, retro trucker caps that your grandpa probably wore back in the day, and yes, my absolute favorite, the satin jacket, which, I pre-ordered one of those the day they announced them. Whether you're walking into a place like the Blue Light Live here in Lubbock, the Continental Club over in Austin, or Cheatham Street Warehouse down in San Marcos, you'll stick out in the best of ways in new Lone Star gear from OG Lone Star. Whether you're a wallflower like myself, a two-stepper out on the dance floor, or holding court by the bar top, you'll feel right at home in the vintage-inspired gear by OG Lone Star. Visit oglonestar.com and give them a follow while you're at it over on Instagram at OG_lone_star to see exactly what I'm talking about. Those links will also be in the show notes. Again, that's oglonestar.com. All right, let's get on to the interview. Here is the one, the only Randy Rogers.
Let's roll. Hey, it's Randy Rogers. I'm sitting here, Cook's Garage, hanging out.
Cook's Garage, CottonFest.
That's my radio voice.
Did you ever think you wanted to do radio with a voice like that? I wanted to start off by bringing up 20 years last year was the 20th anniversary of Rollercoaster, which was, such a big record for y'all, but a big record for a lot of not just the scene, but like for people that they look at that record as like a touchstone for where they were in life. 20 years is like, for me, I feel like it snapped by, but also I can feel that 20 years as it rolled by. For you, does it feel like kind of a blink and then we're already to 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel old yet, right? So I feel like I'm in the middle. It's really interesting, right? That record to me, it does feel like yesterday in a sense, right? I would love to say that I would go back there, but I don't think I would because we were broke, we were scared, we were young, and so many uncertainties were involved with making that record. And so it was really nice to kind of revisit that moment in time. And I've had so many, like you said, so many young artists come up to me and say, man, that record was it, like that convinced me I could do this. And that makes me feel really, really good. It makes me feel like I did something good.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about it when I was driving up here, even just half an hour ago. It was like back then we listened to CDs, and it feels like we didn't you didn't just attach to the big hits or anything like that, or a single release. It felt like if you liked that record, you liked the whole thing, and you listened through all the deep cuts on that record. I feel like one of my favorite things about you as a songwriter and as an artist is that it's been so easy for a lot of artists to just feel maybe like every song has to be a co-write or a write for themselves. I feel like a big testament for you is that you've not been afraid to take outside cuts or songs that meant something to you that were great songs and didn't put necessarily pride or ego over the fact of cutting a good song.
Yeah, right. I mean, we would have to Google it, but if you looked at Willie Nelson's, greatest hits, a lot of them he didn't write, and a lot of the artists that you think are, known as songwriters, if you go look at their catalog, even Stapleton's a good example, right? Biggest song that changed his entire life, Dean Dillon, so, yeah. I think as an artist and any young artist listening to this, I think you have to put ego aside. If a song speaks to you and you feel like you can get after it, and make it your own, I think that's really an important part of being an artist, is being able to understand that, Kiss Me in the Dark was written by Radney Foster and George Dukas. And Radney did, I believe, in his whole heart, wrote it for me because I needed a banger, and I made it a banger, right?
Yeah.
And so much of the song is who delivers it and who writes it, right? And it doesn't have to be the same person all the time.
Yeah, I think that's, a lot of people right now, I think it's kind of in vogue to be like, oh, George Strait, he never wrote any of his songs. And I always go, but he interpreted these songs, he arranged these songs, and he put a voice to those characters. And the idea that he didn't resonate with those songs is preposterous, that's why
100%
being able to interpret a song is that's it for you. What is it that grabs your attention when it's not necessarily even when it's in co-writing situations when it's not your idea?
Yeah, I'm a melody guy, so an infectious melody for me is always what I gravitate towards. So something you can't get out of your head. I don't feel like I am a Bob Dylan type writer. I don't feel like I am a poet. I like a really catchy melodic hook.
Right.
That's what always gets me. I love those big choruses that everybody can sing along to. And I also don't take myself very seriously, right? So I'm not going to sit there and try to be, Ralph Waldo Emerson or something it's okay to just be brokenhearted and try to write about it. I think the one thing about telling stories with songs is just being real, and somebody else saying, well, damn it, that's me. That's exactly what I just went through. And I think that's the best compliment I've ever gotten, is when somebody says, that song is me. Well, actually, no, you're wrong, because it was me. That was the shit I was putting myself through,
Right.
So, I think songwriting is just so complex, and it's not easy. And, a good song, though, I think always, the cream rises to the top. And so I always try to listen. Every time we go into the studio to make a record, I try to listen to everything that I wrote 10 years ago. I try to listen to everything that someone pitched me 10 years ago. I try to listen to everything that people are pitching me now. I mean, I give everything a good listen.
Yeah, that's interesting right there, because I think, like, the idea of, I wrote 10 songs, well, it's time to go cut a record. That's not necessarily how records are made, even though, like, I think some, especially when you're up and coming, I wrote 10 songs, let's go cut a record. I like that way of thinking right there, of, like, actually kind of going back through the pile.
It's fun, because I'll have on my computer saved, like, record 2021 or 2018 or whatever. Go back and listen to everything I was listening to then and thinking, damn, that's good.
Yeah. You have those moments of the, shit, man, when did I write this?
And the songs we passed on.
Yeah.
Like Drink a Beer. Like, I passed on that song when we were on major label. I argued with the band. I'm gonna sit right here on the edge of this pier. Watch the sunset disappear. Drink a beer. I wanted to cut that song. And
is that like Stapleton wrote that, right?
Yeah. And it was like a number one for Luke, I think. But wow. I mean, I'm so glad I didn't cut it, because he had a number one on it, right?
Yeah.
Or I wish I would have cut it, but I don't know if it would have been a number one. But, you go back and those songs you were pitched, it's like, dang it.
Yeah. I've been fortunate to interview some of these, like, 90s guys, like Clay Walker and Clint Black. And now Clint, like, wrote almost all of his stuff, but, my favorite question's like, well, what did you almost get, And it's like, Clay, I guess, like, when we were talking, he's kind of, I was kind of down on the totem pole. Like, if I had to, like, wait for George to say no and Alan Jackson to say no, and
it was pretty stacked back then.
Yeah,
yeah.
But it's always interesting to see, like, or hear those stories of what would you almost get,
Yeah,
so
I think there was a few others. I mean, just through the years, looking back, I mean, and that's another thing too. It's like, who knows what's going to be a number one song? Quite frankly, I never had one, so I have no clue, right? So I have no clue. So I don't even know what is and what's not anymore. And I don't think I knew back then either. But I think that's part of life, right? It's like, to me, songs are just snapshots. They're just pictures, And I know people say that all the time, but it is really true. It's just where you're at in your life at that time. And then magic really happens when it's the right artist at the right time with the right song. Like Miranda Lambert, House That Built Me, know.
What's like a song for you in your catalog that, you cut it, and obviously if you cut it, it resonated with you, but time gave you more appreciation for that song, or that you saw it in a different light?
Well, it's interesting because, like, In My Arms Instead just had this recent resurgence, and it was a TikTok thing.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that song, but it wasn't our biggest song. Kiss Me in the Dark was our biggest song. And In My Arms Instead never even performed well at radio back in the day. And so it's very interesting to me now that it's become and evolved to our biggest song. And not even a re-recording of it, just the original, Randy Rogers Band eponymous record that it was on. It's just interesting that here I am, 46 years old, and these 16-year-old kids are singing that to me.
Right.
I'm like, this is interesting. Where did this come from? How did this happen? And so, and that's another thing, you young artists out there that are listening. It's like, you never know. It's like this song that you wrote yesterday, in 20 years from now, could be the jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I find most interesting about that song is how, like, it leaves and then you have that little pause and then it comes back. And, like, I think, you know, that part of, like, when it comes back with just the fiddle at the very, very end, that outro part, it makes you feel like it is that, like, longing of, like, just looking more into the sunset a little bit longer, you know, and right when you think the sun's about to go down or something, whatever it is, you're still out there going like, well, it's still here, you know?
Yeah, that's great. Maybe we should make more songs like that.
Well, I think, you know, sometimes we get stuck, and I say we, like I'm recording stuff, but in that, it doesn't fit the single.
The 2 minute, 20-second deal, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't fit, you know, it doesn't, you know, it has 3 verses or 4 verses versus, you know, just 2 and a good chorus or whatever. And like, you know, I think sometimes we overthink it in the.
I'm going next week to Nashville, not next week, the week after, back to Sean McConnell. So Sean McConnell and I have written a lot of the songs that have been staples of our live show. And I'm just so excited. He's got this studio now that he works out of and writes out of at his, you know, place, and I'm so excited to go back and spend time with him. And I've told him too, like I said, we need to go back and rewrite some of these, you know, half songs and ideas that we had when we were like 26, you know, a long time ago. And maybe not 26, maybe 31, but, you know, go back and let's just dig up some old vibes, you know, and see what's there.
Yeah, is that how, like, maybe not that songwriting gets old or boring or stale or anything like that, but, you know, if you're doing it for a long time, it can maybe stagnate in a sense. Is that like one of those ways to make it where, you know, it's new and fresh again?
I wish I could tell you I knew. You know, I wish I could explain it. I don't, and I'm not really 100% sure that I know what I'm doing every time I start writing a song. It's so bizarre because there's no blueprint,
right?
And it's just crazy. It's like sometimes they fall out of the sky, and sometimes they take years. It's crazy, and I wish there was an easy way to explain it, but there's not.
Yeah. Now, like, traditionally, like I've been more of a journalist style, and
same thing for you, right?
Everything, like, I've had that feeling too often where I finished an article and been like, oh shit, am I going to be able to do this again? You know, like, am I going to be able to put those words to describe somebody?
Especially when it's really good.
Yeah. And like, you kind of feel like, oh shit. Okay. And, you know, I think like sometimes songwriters they have to feel that same little bit of anxiety attached to it.
Yeah. I've been on this like really weird health journey, and, you know, just trying to kind of get cleaned up and figure things out and, you know, become a grown up and, you know, a better person, you know, just all these kind of like self-help things. Right. But what's been lacking is like that creativity. It's very interesting. Right. So I'm like, when's it going to come? When's it going to come? When's it going to come? And the thing about it is, and I know it, is that I have no control over it. Right. When it happens, it will happen. And I think for some writers, and I was just talking to a young writer earlier today, and he was like, nothing's coming. I'm like, well, you're 20 years old, bro. Like, not a lot has happened to you yet. So you gotta live life in order to write life. And so even right now, and, you know, I'm about to go to write, you know, potentially for a new album, and I have no clue what I'm going to write about, you know, but I've been living a heck of a lot of life. And so I think that will eventually get painted into a song, right? It has to. I've been doing it for so long. It's going to come out.
Yeah. I always kind of think of like, or I maybe subscribe to the theory that if you're a creative person, all of it, even if you're not sitting down for you with a guitar and a pen and pencil and writing down stuff, the living part and the being aware of like the moments, that's investing into that creative process one way or another.
Yeah, my wife always says I'm a horrible listener, and it is true because right, because she'll say something and I'll be like, you didn't tell me that. But I think a lot of songwriting is listening. It's like a friend group, you got a buddy going through something that's hard or something that's great, and just listening to that experience, right? And being able to relive that with the melody, with the story. I think that's what it's all about.
Made for the dance hall, the dive bar, the fire pit, and the front porch, OG Lone Star is your go-to spot to grab vintage-inspired attire and gear. Nothing pairs with a cold, crisp Lone Star beer quite like a comfortable Lone Star t-shirt, a sharp trucker hat, that smooth satin jacket, a bold belt buckle, or a host of other goods by OG Lone Star. Officially licensed gear, OG Lone Star is the absolute real deal. Visit oglonestar.com. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. Is it harder, like, as you've gotten, as a bigger artist, as an older artist, where you're not necessarily able to be that, like, wallflower, and, like, pick up on other people's stories in that, like, people watching kind of way? Or is that kind of, you get what I'm saying?
I think, like, bigger artists / older artists, I think it's a seasoned veteran, if you want to call it that, right? I don't think it's harder to pick up on that. I think it's harder to pick up on the trends, right? For me, when I see somebody blow by me because of TikTok success, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Was it the song or was it the TikTok that got those people to be the headliner? Like, yeah. Sometimes I think music gets lost in translation because of the way that we consume music now. Maybe that confuses me sometimes as a, older, bigger artist, right? I'm like, what am I not doing at this stage of my life? What am I not picking up on here? Like, what am I not grasping with this new generation?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a rabbit hole in itself right there of going.
It sure is, yeah.
Okay. I think, like, the funniest thing about social media is, like, there's been a whole lot of, like, turmoil, I guess, over Twitter, right? About, like, Musk buying it and going to X, and, like, there's all these little Twitter offs kind of thing, and people were like, well, I'm going to go on to this instead because of Elon Musk and whatnot. And there is this real funny hesitation for a lot of journalists out there to go, well, I've cultivated this following on here, on this platform, and how do I move these 10,000 people to another platform? And then you kind of think about it for a minute, and you're like, it's all made up anyways.
Sure.
Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we thinking? Like, why are we so worried about the numbers of
the
like,
analytics of
it? The analytics of it all. And
it's interesting because I'm telling these youngsters, there are 3 of them that you're about to interview, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Ashton Naylor, Hank Weaver, and Cameron Albright. I've been telling them, you've got to stop comparing yourself. First of all, to each other, because you're all buddies, but you got to stop looking at the other guys and girls that are blowing past you with these numbers, whether it be on their following numbers or their streaming numbers. Like, we live in a day and age where it's so easy to see and visually see the difference between who's got the most streams on Spotify and who doesn't, right? You've got to stop, focusing on someone else's success, and Ty was just on the bus with all those young guys, and Ty's a young himself, right? But Ty's having all that success. It's like, you guys can't be looking at each other like competitively.
Yeah.
You got to look at each other like, we're in this. Like, we are a part of the scene of music from Texas, and we are all very proud of our product and what we're doing. And every night you get on that stage, you got to put your best foot forward and be excellent and be gone. That's what I always told, all the younger artists: be excellent and then get the heck out of there, and quit looking at. I mean, I could easily say, well, Randy Rogers' band didn't have any #1 hits, and Eli Young band has had 10 or whatever it is, right? I could easily say Billy Currington was on the same label as me, got all these beautiful songs, and had 10 #1s or whatever he has, right? But what good does that do? I'm about to jump on stage tonight in front of 6,000 people or whatever it is. Like, you got to do your job. Your job is to get up on stage and sing. Like, You can't sit there and compare and compare and compare. And I think, unfortunately, nowadays, social media and the way that you can view streaming and all the ways, it just puts everybody at like some sort of odds with each other. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think 100% on all that. I think the one thing that I, for a comparison, as far as, you know, I don't know, whatever, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, here in Lubbock, when we had a couple of guys like Cleto Cordero and Randall King and a few of these guys all coming out of Blue Light, who at the time, you know, no one really knew. There was like this healthy competitiveness of, oh, I know Cleto's going to come to Songwriter Night with a new song. I need to get myself a new song. I think like that kind of healthy competition is breeds better songs. And
Agreed.
That's kind of the thing where, you know, it's if you're all focused on all the numbers, you're putting the cart before the horse, right?
100%.
You're doing the I've seen so many, and I'm sure you've seen a million more than me, but the people worried more about their merch, you know, than having the set list of songs to do.
Sure.
All that kind of stuff.
Which is one thing I want to say about a set list is like I played so many covers in the beginning, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't play covers, but you young artists that are listening to this, really try to focus on your own material, and even it is, you know, a song you didn't write, but make it your own, and just like my live show, I really like deviated from those cover songs at a pretty early age, and try to solidify the Randy Rogers Band as like an original artist. It's hard to do when you have no, you know, you don't have 4 albums or whatever, right?
Right,
but,
yeah.
You know, as quickly as you can gravitate to your own shit, I think it's better.
Yeah. I remember, let's see, probably like 2005, 6, going on LimeWire and, oh, Randy Rogers cover of Come Pick Me Up.
Come Pick Me Up, yeah. I feel like I found that song before anybody except Ryan, and, you know, he wrote it, so.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, this is the fucking best song ever, and playing it live and people just losing it, and then I was like, okay, it's not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I haven't met Ryan and told him, I was like, dude, I'm just like every night playing your song.
That song, the first time I heard it, I was just, first time I really heard like Ryan Adams, I was like, geez, okay. This guy just, also just how many records he was putting out at the time. Like, yeah. I think like in 05, 06, he put out, that's the year he put out 3 records, and it was just like,
yeah,
man,
I was a huge fan too. It's like he was brilliantly creative quickly, and it was like, how was he doing this?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Drugs, you know.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I was gonna mention earlier about Rollercoaster is, you know, you have Kent's, they call it the Hill Country on that record, and so when I first heard Charlie Stout working on the song West Texas in My Eye, like that's the first thing I thought of was like, oh, that's his, they call it the Hill Country. That's same thing that, you know, John Prine doing Paradise, or like Sturgill doing Pan Bowl, or, you know, something about even like Red, I was thinking about it earlier, Red doing like Culberson County.
Yeah.
Tapping into that preservation of a place and a time, so integral. When the first time you know, heard that song and came across that, summing up something that maybe you hadn't thought about or even could put into words, what was that like? And knowing that it was important for you to cut that song.
Well, I love Kent, and he would play that song often at Songwriter Night, and I didn't know it at the time, but it was about to come true, you know, where we live, in New Braunfels and San Marcos area and the Hill Country area. Now it's just overrun with people, right? And it was just like a foreshadowing at the time. But, you know, he wrote it about his experience as a child. And so I think that song is one of those that's important to be sang for a long time, because it does put you at the place of kind of the land before time, right? It's that song will be around forever. So to me, it was my job to cut it, and we used to play it when Kent was alive, and he would get up and sing it with me, and it gave me so much joy. I have so many pictures of us singing it together, and hopefully William Clark Green were here at this event. He gets up and plays it with me and sings the verse and stuff with me, and it's just a passing of time. I think that's what songs are, and and that one particularly is about our beautiful land that we have here in Texas, and unfortunately, it's all becoming concrete. Very rapidly, quickly, even more so now than when Kent wrote that song. So it's interesting, and I've had a lot of groups attach themselves to that song. A lot of preservationist groups, a lot of anti-quarry groups. A lot of pushback groups attach themselves to that song, and that's one of the songs that's way bigger than me. It's way bigger than Kent. It embodies maybe an entire movement that can't be stopped.
Yeah, I think like what's so interesting on the writing of that song kind of thing is like it being so personal, but again, like as you say, so big. Like it's kind of I had to imagine intimidating putting like a voice to that entire kind of the preservation of a place. It has to be kind of intimidating the first time you start writing a song like that.
Yeah, I wish I could write 10 of those. I'm going to try in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, I was going to say you may.
Yeah.
Now you've mentioned you'll be writing with Sean here pretty soon, but like you've released a couple of singles just in recent couple months or so. Weeks. Those were co-writes with Parker McCollum, who just released a new record.
Yeah.
Obviously, Parker just blew up in a way that I think, in a way that like, if you said that you knew Parker McCollum was going to be a big star, like, congratulations, everyone did, like you could see the writing on the wall as far as that guy being prolific and going to do big things as long as he, kept eye on the prize.
Shout out to Parker too. I was with him the other day, and man, he's become a really great guitar player. Like, little known fact, Parker's a better guitar player than me. It really pisses me off.
What is it like writing with a guy who you've seen, starting out and then like become a guy who's, accomplished?
Well, I look at him like a little brother. I was part of his management team at the beginning, and I'm proud of him, very proud of him. And now getting to write songs with him, and I've got a song on his new record. It's called "Killing Me." I'm just really proud of the way that he stayed true to his family, to his friends, and to himself. Really hard to do when you have all that noise in your head, right?
Yeah.
And success. But he is really stuck, and this new record is really down right to the heart of himself. I mean, he named it after himself. So it makes me proud, to be associated with him. And, it's what we were talking about earlier, and the competitiveness and the jealousy kind of happens, and comparing yourself to others. And, man, I'm just so happy for him.
And it feels like it all relates back to these same ethos, these same touch points. But again, I think it's important that he put that Chris Knight cover on the record,
rope,
because like that tells me one, a song like that's important to him, an artist like Chris Knight's important to him, that maybe, a lot of his crowd doesn't know because they weren't necessarily around when Chris Knight was cut that record. Or
if you're listening to this, go listen to Love in a 45,
Yeah.
Go listen to that song.
Chris Knight, like his Oil Patch Town.
Yeah.
Like, so I grew up in Fort Stockton, little tiny town, and that just felt like, oh shit, man, you were riding around with us, that kind of thing. Just in the back seat, you captured that moment
I'm still kind of scared of Chris Knight, by the way.
I think you kind of have to be, right?
Hi, Chris, if you're listening.
That's the same thing with the three guys you were talking to earlier. We were talking yesterday about James McMurtry, and I said, you kind of have to be a little scared.
Choctaw Bingo.
Yeah.
Anybody that wrote that, I'm scared of.
Yeah. I told Ray one time, man, if I ever had like a band, I would the band name would be Bodark Fence Posts. But so anyways, you put out these 2 singles. Is that part of like a new record right now coming up, or you?
Yeah, it's an EP. So
we're
about to drop an EP. We made it with Jed Hughes. Jed Hughes is a fabulous artist, singer, songwriter, guitar player, mandolin player, just fabulous musician. He's on the road with Vince Gill right now. I talked to him today. He was actually in the studio with Vince. So we made an EP with Jed, and we're going to go back in the fall with Jed, make some more songs. So really excited about that new collaboration with him. He's actually played guitar on the record we made with Jay Joyce, so like Fuzzy, and maybe several other albums that we've made, but just always been a friend and confidant, and I really believe in him, and it's good. It's different. So I feel like the Randy Rogers Band has always been so safe. So I'm kind of feeling like it's time to get a little bit wicked.
Yeah.
I ain't afraid.
Well, go look up on like all your liner notes. Jed Hughes' name's going to be all over the place on all these records that you love that you didn't necessarily know he was on.
Yeah.
So has that been kind of one of those things, I guess, like throughout your catalog, you have worked with different producers?
It's funny. Important? I jumped around producer to producer, and so on and so forth. So I think we learned a lot from working with each individual, and took away different things from each producer that we work with. I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing for the career. We never hit a zinger and had a number 1 and had to stay with the same producer. So I think it made the band better, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think sometimes, obviously you have a lot of these relationships where you artist, producer, and they do 25 years worth of records, and sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes that can be like, oh, we're just listening to the same record over and over. Feels though like, I know you said safe is what you felt, but I think like that it's kind of important to at least have a different voice in the room sometimes, just to get what you're
I think I'm in a spot where I could take a creative turn, right? I'm not afraid of that. I like the sound of like some of those crazy, wicked 70s, David Allan Coe records, like psychedelic, weird country. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it really matter anymore? I don't even think we're in a genre anymore. I don't even know what we're in. Music has become so.
Yeah.
Trap beat and rapping is now number 1 country. I don't really know where we're at. So
yeah.
If I want to go make a record that sounds like Redneck Mother, then I should be allowed to, right?
Yeah. Well, I think genre, of course, was just made by guys like me 100 years ago trying to describe something, right? Like, well, what's outlaw country? What's everything that you're right on the genre thing. I've kind of always compared it to, especially now, is like a rope that's being frayed, and on one end it's getting tighter, in which if it's on top 40 radio, it's all becoming homogenized into one sound. But on the back end, because everyone can produce a record at their house, we're getting more specific sounds. So if you want to do a record that sounds like, David Allan Coe, there's room for it, because there's just room for it.
Yes. I think it would be fun to experiment. That's all I'm saying. Coming soon, fun to experiment with music.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about it I have on for right now. But actually, give me a date on that the EP. When?
Yeah, so it's in the fall. I don't have an exact date, but maybe October, right? So
okay.
I think, is this thing working? Is the latest thing we put out? We just filmed a music video with Parker, he was nice enough to come appear in my music video. So that's the new thing. And then we've got 3 or 4 more in the can that will be out from this EP. And then we'll be back in studio.
Yeah. Well, sounds good. Well, we're looking forward to all these new co-writes with old co-writes with Sean McConnell.
Yeah.
And whatever else you got going.
I'm looking forward to getting back to the pen and paper.
Sounds good. Well, we'll see you down the road.
Good to see you, brother.
All right, that is it for this episode. Be sure to check out our proud partners, OG Lone Star. Be on the lookout for the next thing from Randy Rogers, which should be coming in the fall. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Same place, same time.